You may be seated. Okay, yesterday. This is day 2 of the people of the state of Ohio versus Courtney A. Golston and Anna I. Reyes. We will be continuing with the prosecution's calling of witnesses. Today, we have District Attorney Hippler in place of District Attorney Ayuja. To review what your assignment is, you guys need to be filling out your packets as we go from testimony to testimony. If you were gone yesterday, then you need to keep this in mind. You will be responsible for evaluating all the testimonies. All the testimonies will be put on video at the end of the trial. So, yesterday, we heard opening statements. That was testimony number 1. We heard from Officer Shervala. That was testimony number 2. We heard from Mr. Jones. You interrupt me one more time, sir, you'll be held in contempt of court. That was testimony number 3. We heard from Dr. Hippler. That was testimony number 4. And then we heard from Dr. Hippler again, and that was testimony number 5. So today we will begin with testimony number 6. You have a question?
Yeah. Do the scores have to add up to 6, or they add up to 6?
You ask another stupid question like that, I've already answered 6 times, you'll be held in contempt of court.
I was just making sure.
Make sure with somebody else, because that's already been made very sure.
Okay.
Now, would the prosecution like to take a minute to review the case that they did yesterday?
Yes.
Come on.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to start out by pointing out again, this shouldn't even be a case in the first place. We've already defined what self-defense really is. It's when you're defending yourself in an act of peril at that moment. Obviously, we know what happened wasn't at the moment. We found out that the victim was actually sitting down while he was poisoned. How could he be abusing anyone while sitting down? Also, I'd like to point out that our... What's her name again?
Are you referring to the defendants or the attorneys?
The defendants.
Ms. Golston and Ms.
Mrs.
Reyes.
Golston, that's right. Mrs. Golston is actually mentally unstable and unwilling to take her medication to help that. So we already know that she's too selfish and inconsiderate to do that, and that she doesn't have mental stability. And that's about it.
Would the defense like to take a minute to build their case in front of the court that they review the case they built yesterday?
Yes, please. From what I have gathered from what we reviewed yesterday was that the doctor did say that she was not taking her pills, which is true, but the reason for that was because of nausea and sedation, not because she didn't want it. And she did tell the doctor that she was that she needed new pills, and the doctor did not seem to be helping. Also, he was lying on the kitchen floor. He was not sitting in the chair. So that's another thing that we went over yesterday. Another thing is that the abuse could have happened before he was lying on the floor dead. And that is some of the things that we
Would the prosecution like to call their next witness to the stand?
Yes, we would like to call Officer Tim Shervala.
Call Officer Shervala to the stand. No.
Can you have 2 people questions?
Only one person may be standing up at the same time.
Okay, you can go ahead. I just asked 2 questions.
This will be testimony number 6 with Officer Shervala.
Alright, Officer Shervala, I just want to clarify, did you find any of the pills at the scene of the crime?
We did. We searched the medicine cabinet, and there were pill bottles there, and they seemed to be full.
They were full. Were they opened at all?
No.
They were unopened. So how could the defendant have complained about the pills not working if she never even tried them? That's all I have to ask you.
When did you interview Courtney? When after you got
Or a couple of days after the
what was your emotional state?
She seemed to be, like, not grieving, but just more serious from monotone.
Do you think that that most people would be grieving and upset about this?
Yeah, most people in her case would have been, more emotionally disturbed, emotionally upset.
Do you think it's possible to be able to get over this in just a short period of time?
It's possible.
Would the defense like to cross-examine?
Yes, please. I would just like to ask you one question. Do you know absolutely positive that the pills did not get refilled in the bottle that you examined?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
You may be seated. Would the prosecution like to call their next witness?
Yes. We would like to call Ryan to the stand.
Is that Mr. Jones? Mr.
Ryan.
Mr. Bush.
Mr. Bush, yes.
Call Ryan Bush to the stand.
All right.
This will be testimony number 7. The witness is Ryan Bush.
So the victim worked for you, correct?
Correct.
How many years did he work for you?
About 5, 6. We're going 6.
6 years. All right.
5.5 to 6.
I'm sorry.
5.5 to 6.
Okay.
We're going 6.
And did you ever have any interactions outside of your workplace with him?
Yes, we did. Me and Gina became pretty good friends. So, friendship, develops. His kids would play with my kids. Occasionally my kids would go over and he would babysit my kids.
And
I need to interrupt your testimony. You're not allowed to approach the witness stand with any sort of documentation or notes on your behalf. I'll need to confiscate those on behalf of the court.
and while kids were being babysat, who was around? Was it just the victim or? were there other
Yeah,
people
it was just the victim. The wife never seemed to be in the house. They said they never saw the wife. There were a few occasions they saw her. I mean, it didn't really hit me as a big deal because they were fine and they had fun. But it never saw the wife. It was more just the victim.
Interesting. So, Mrs. Golston wasn't even present for a lot of the time, just mysteriously missing from the house. Did you ever exhibit any angry behavior at the workplace?
Yes, he did one time, and of the 6 years, it was about 6 weeks before he, died. He threw a coffee mug at the wall. Took him out of the office. Said, what's going on? He said, calm him down. He was all right after that. But it was a little bit suspicious.
Okay, so there was only one incident that ever happened, and after that, he was fine afterwards.
Yeah, he was fine. Back to work, all ready to go.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Will the defense like to cross-examine? Please remain seated. Now, in the future, if you have documentation that you would like to present to the courts as evidence, you can turn that into your attorneys and have them present that to the court as evidence.
First, I would like to ask if you said that you never saw his wife, right?
My kids never saw his wife.
Your kids. Have you personally saw his wife though?
Not very much. I've seen her maybe once or twice, but never really had a conversation with her.
Do you think that if there was any abuse in the house, that she would try to stay away as much as possible? Do you think that could be?
I think it's possible, but from what I have examined out, I've never seen any abuse.
But you've never seen her.
My kids have never seen any abuse. I haven't seen her, so.
So you don't know if there's.
I don't know.
Okay. Also, you said that there was only one complaint about through the whole 6 years that he.
Yeah.
Only one.
Yeah, it was only one.
And did you ever hear? What if I said there was a coworker that may have heard him yell a lot on the phone? And how could you not have heard this yelling? Were you far away, or
My office is located across the building.
across the building? So if he did yell, you would not know.
And if the coworker really saw that, they would file a complaint towards me, and I never have gotten any complaints.
But this doesn't mean that there was yelling going on. Even if there wasn't any complaints.
If the coworker felt offended, then they would put a complaint towards me. I would go out and talk to him, and there was never any complaints filed. The only one that was filed was the one where he threw a coffee mug at the wall. So that was the only thing I can really follow up on.
Also, did they mention that there was a coffee mug thrown at the wall and it almost hit a person in the head? It was that close?
I did not hear about that, but I know he did throw a coffee mug. That's all I kind of heard about.
Can I object, please?
Objection on what grounds?
I
Your
think
your attorney is questioning, right?
no, I want to object to the.
You're not allowed to object to witness testimony. You're only allowed to object. You're only allowed to object with the questioning process.
Question two.
So if
Okay, when she's done, can I come up and ask a question?
You may alternate spots at any time.
Can she just come up with me?
Only one person can approach the witness stand at a time.
okay, and also no further questioning.
Are you absolutely positive that there was only one complaint filed and that you did do something about it?
Yes, there's one complaint filed towards me. Yes.
This is very interesting because in the fact sheet that we were provided with, it says that there was a complaint filed and that he did not do anything about it. So he is lying and presenting you with false information. Thank you. No further questions.
Defense, are you through with your testimony or with your cross-examination?
Alright, I have one more actually.
My bad.
Okay, so you said that where your building is, it's a whole building away from where it
It's
is?
across the building.
Across the building? Because from what I have received, the information I received, it seems that it is only one floor above where,
It's across the building.
not according to my information, that
Oh, where's your information from?
from reliable sources like the coworker.
Well, then the coworker may be lying because our building is right here. My office is right there.
Regardless, he should, even if your building was across the board, I guess that so you wouldn't have been able to hear any yelling that if there has been yelling.
No, I did not hear any yelling.
But you wouldn't be able to because your building is supposedly across from.
Yes, I would be able to.
So there could have been yelling,
There could have been yelling.
which I have proof and evidence that there was. And that is another conflict against what he said. No further questioning.
You may be seated. Okay, it looks like we need to get to the bottom of this floor plan of this building. Okay, you are fully welcome to foreshadow the evidence that you intend to bring out in future testimonies. Yes, but you should not try to bring out that information now. Say something like, well, we have information that might contradict that in the future, or something. But this is where you get to the point where you have one person's word against his, and so you have to battle it out between the attorneys and the witnesses, and come to a point where you believe the truth can settle. Okay? Would the prosecution like to call their next witness?
Yes, we would like to call back up Ryan Bush.
Okay. Call Ryan Bush to the stand. This will be testimony number 8.
We do our testimony ourselves to be able to evaluate your.
Yes. You're evaluating every single testimony.
May I begin?
Yes.
Okay. I'd just like to ask you, do you think you know your office pretty well?
Yes, I do know.
Yes, and you know how far away your office might be from
Yes,
Dino's office?
yes.
Okay. Also, there was the defendant stated that there was a complaint filed. You already said you had a complaint filed, is that correct?
Yeah, that was the same. I'm pretty sure it was the same complaint they were talking about. Coffee mug. Yeah.
May be the case. Also, do you trust all of your workers completely?
I do.
You
I
do
do.
all? Okay. So you would trust Gino?
Oh, yes, I trust you. He's one of the top workers.
Do you have anything to say? No further questions?
Yes.
I would like to ask you what exactly you did about the complaint that was filed.
Well, it was the first complaint against Gino. So I basically took him out of the office, said, what happened, talked to him. I let him out of work for 3 days just to, relax, calm down, and then back in, he was all right.
This is interesting, due to the fact that later in the trial something may contradict this.
Thank you, no further questions.
Maybe see it. Prosecution would like to call their next witness.
We'd like to call Mr. Blake Moody.
Call Blake Moody to the stand. This is testimony number 9.
What is your relationship with the victim?
I play on his hockey team.
Okay. And on this case, did you ever find anything suspicious about Mrs. Golston?
No,
No.
she was never really at the games.
Okay. And have you found any evidence that might be suspicious about something?
Actually, I was at a party with my coworker Riley Bush, Riley Dwyer, and I found his phone laying on the table. I was searching through it to see whose phone it was to return to the rightful owner, and I stumbled across some text messages between him and Courtney Golston.
And what did these text messages say?
Meet me at my house and don't tell Gino.
Interesting. I think that might possibly relate to something of an affair of some sort. Maybe that could be the suspicious behavior of Mrs. Golston always missing from the house. Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. So, what other messages did you see between them?
Not much except for details going on with the affair.
Okay, so would you say that there is clear evidence that there is an affair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like to cross-examine the witness?
How did you find these text messages?
Well, Riley's phone was laying on the table, and I grabbed his phone and went through it to look for whose phone it was, and I stumbled across the messages.
So you stumbled across the messages. So you, first of all, you specifically stole his phone to look through the messages.
Objection, he did not steal his phone. He is putting words into my client's
How do
mouth.
you stumble upon?
Objection sustained. Stick with the testimony and the facts that you know.
So you said that you just picked up his phone,
Right, it was lying on the table.
lying on the table. Wouldn't that be considered an invasion of privacy because you did not ask him to look through his phone?
Not necessarily if I was doing a good deed.
But if it was lying on the table, then why would you assume that? Did you assume that it was lost? That someone was?
Right, yeah.
But there's lots of people. If you saw a phone lying on that table, would you just go and pick it up and immediately start looking through it and stumble upon the messages, even though the messages and the messages are on a totally different? It's not on, the very front of the phone, correct? Messages don't just you have to look.
Well,
through
he had a missed message that was.
that you looked through. Okay.
Right.
And what was the purpose that you looked through it?
Because it was right on the front of the screen. And
So he looked through the message because it was right on the front of the screen. I would say that would be an invasion of privacy. And my attorney would like to say something else.
Do you agree to saying that you saw the message on the front of the screen?
yes.
This is also interesting because earlier he said that he went through the phone to find the rightful owner. The message on the screen does not have anything to do with the rightful owner. He is contradicting himself.
Not necessarily if I opened up the phone.
You have not been authorized to speak at this point.
No
You
further
speak.
questions?
You'll speak when she asks you questions.
No further questions?
Maybe see.
I'm done. Trials on everything.
Prosecution, would you like to call your next witness to the stand?
Yes, I'd like to recall Mr. Blake Moody.
Call Blake Moody to the stand.
Now, Blake, your intention was to find the
This will be
rightful.
testimony number 10.
Your intention of taking the phone was to find the rightful owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. And when you opened the phone, you said you stumbled upon the messages. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So his intentions were to go through the phone, which he said, and find the rightful owner. And as you said, it was on the front of the screen, the message.
Correct.
So he couldn't have even avoided it unless he like exited out really fast or something like that. Is that correct?
Correct.
No further questions.
Okay, so would you believe that when the phone rang, whenever you immediately look over, like with all phones, when you hear beep something, you look at it. Never, right?
Right.
Okay, and so would you say that it was pretty much this message that was already on the phone was in plain sight?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Okay, and so when you went to find the rightful owner of the phone, you can't just tell by the phone, right? You have to kind of look through it and find it.
Right.
And now, I don't know about you, but not every person has their name clearly written on their phone to say who it is. So maybe you have to go find some further investigating to find whose phone it was,
Right. Like
and that's when you stumbled upon this. Okay. Thank you.
I would like to ask you, what kind of phone was this?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Can you give me a general description of the phone?
It was an average phone. It had a touchscreen. I'm not that phone literate.
Okay. So in all the phones, it has this little thing in the contacts where you can scroll down, and under your name right beside it, it'll say, click on it, say me. Why didn't you do that?
I was going to do that.
Oh, you're going to do that.
Right,
You
but
just
on the
stumbled
front of
upon
the
some messages when you're going to do that?
It said on the front of the screen, "Meet me at my house. Don't tell Gina."
Really? Because I thought you went through the messages. Because that's what
No,
you said earlier. That's the information you
Objection.
provided
He
us.
stated that he was going to look through the phone.
Objection overruled. I'll hear the rest of this testimony.
So I don't believe that if you go through this phone and you stumble on some messages, which is in fact impossible, that you can acquire this information that he has acquired. Would you like to ask? Yes.
The record does indeed show that the witness said he went searching for messages.
And also to back that up, he did search through messages, and earlier he said, I looked at the other messages, and I saw other messages that showed that there was more of an affair going on. So he did state that he was searching through the rest of the messages. Even if he maybe just stumbled upon the first one, he decided to go self-conscious, like knowing what he was doing, to go, and he started looking, so he looked through the rest of the messages. Also, at a party, there's lots of phones lying around, right? If
Not
it's,
usually. Most of them are in the people's pockets.
well, what kind of party are you going to? What kind of party was it?
It was a party with a few coworkers.
Just a few coworkers.
Yeah. A few being like 50.
Alright.
How many people exactly were at this party?
Objection. This is not relevant to the case.
Actually, it is.
Please. Objection overruled. I'll hear the witness and see how this might be relevant to the case.
How many people were at this party?
Around 50.
You just said it was a small party.
I said a few. Like around 50.
Did you know all the people at this party?
Yeah. A lot of them were coworkers.
Were you close with Gino?
Yeah. I played on his hockey team.
You played on his hockey team? How many people were on his hockey team?
14, 15.
And he never checked his phone during any of these that you would know that it was his phone? Because I've sat with Courtney 1 or 2 days. I know that she has an iPhone.
This was not Gino's.
You'll be silent.
If you saw people together, don't you think observations would show you this? He purposely went through this phone and stumbled upon these messages. And that is not something you would do. It's invasion of privacy, which could find him.
Objection. Who's on trial here? My client or the murderer?
Objection is sustained. The decision needing to be made is whether or not the murder is self-defense or premeditated. Okay? while whether or not he invaded the defendant's privacy or the defendant's privacy may indirectly lead to information relevant for the case, it's not central to this testimony. Okay, so supposing he did completely invade her privacy, that still does very little to prove whether or not she is guilty or innocent. So you need to move forward with your point, connecting all this stuff that you're trying to find out, connecting it to the actual case at hand.
I'm gonna go with no further questions.
Okay. You may be seated. Would you like to call your next witness?
Yes, Mrs. Camille.
Call Camille McClellan from the stand. This is testimony 11.
What was your relationship with the defendant, Anna?
I went to college with her. She's my best friend.
Your best friends, okay. How has your relationship changed over the years?
Well, we don't really speak anymore, and I used to go to her pharmacy to get my medication, and I no longer do that.
Okay. And is there a reason for that?
Yes, there is.
What would that be?
Well, she was involved with this guy in college, and a couple years later, I started going out with him, not knowing that they went out until a year later. And she got mad at me, and she busted out my car windows. So I felt unsafe and scared that she would do something to my medicine at the pharmacy. So I left the pharmacy. She started threatening me and things. So eventually, I blocked her number, stopped talking to her altogether.
So let it be known that the defendant, Anna, was threatening someone, and she seemed a little bit mentally unstable, would you say?
Yes.
Yes, no further questions.
Would you say that someone who's mentally stable would be crazy enough to just bash in your windows into a man? Has it ever happened to you before?
No, one more time.
Okay. And so you said that she did work at the pharmacy, correct?
Yes.
And you received your medication there. And so you said that she'd have direct access to any medication there.
For the defense.
What proof do you have that the car windows that were bashed were from Anna?
She sent me a message saying that I should regret what I did because she came and bashed my windows in.
She specifically said that she came and bashed your
Yes,
windows
she
in?
did. She's crazy.
No further questions.
You may be seated. You have.
Yes.
Sorry.
Can you please restate the proof that you have? I received a message saying that I should regret what I have done and that she bashed my car windows in.
There is something also on the information that received that contradicts this. It says there is no proof found. Again, she is lying to you. This obliterates even what you were saying with this witness because everything she is saying is false. No further questions.
Objection. She can't prove that she was lying. It's just simply word versus word.
Well, and right now it's only one person getting to tell their work. We need to hear from the other person at some point, don't we? Right now, this is the word. This is the word that we have heard, and that word's been disputed. So we'll need to hear the other side of the story at some point. You may be seated.
Question on the trial.
Yes.
Can they lie about the packet? Well, like if something's in the packet, can they lie and say that it wasn't?
No.
Because that's what they're doing, and that's like,
Well, we don't have all the information that you guys have.
that was in your statement.
Okay.
No.
If you have a complaint about something like that, if you believe, and if anybody believes that a witness is telling false information upon the stand, then at the end of the court day, then you need to come up and address me with that. Okay? Would you like to call your next witness?
Yes, we'd like to call Mr. Justin to the stand.
Call Justin Hoyer to the stand. Okay, and so the way it'll go is testimony number 12. Attorneys are allowed to file grievances based on if they think information that has been given out has been false. You need to document what information you feel was false and who said it. Okay, and I'll make a decision whether or not to throw out the information or whether or not to at least temporarily, if not permanently, keep the information part of the trial. Okay? But that's stuff you'll need to do at the end of the court day. Okay, testimony number 12, Justin Oyer.
Justin, you were a coworker of Anna's, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And so you worked at the pharmacy with her. Did you ever see her doing any mysterious behavior?
Yeah, a few weeks or back before the murder, she was mysteriously disappearing, taking like these weird phone calls, staying away from her work. She was also stocking the shelves. It wasn't her job to do that. It was very weird.
Interesting. So she wasn't doing what her job was and just doing other activities while she was there?
Suspicious.
And are the components for what was used to kill the victim, are those available at the pharmacy, those chemicals?
I'm pretty sure that you could combine things to form death.
And we've already found out that the defendant, Anna, is very mentally unstable, and she could probably try to make a decision to steal some
Wait,
stuff.
objection. What proof do we have that she's mentally unstable?
No proof yet. You have rumors that she is mentally unstable. That's still, in the eyes of the court, yet to be proven 100%.
Yes, I never said proof, I just said we found out. Alright, no further questions.
Would you like to cross-examine the witness?
No further questions.
Okay, you may be seated. Prosecution, would you like to call your next witness? You need a moment to deliberate.
Yeah.
You guys will call.
1 minute to deliberate.
And I'm gonna call us in.
I mean, I can call you back over the time.
Yeah.
We found the photography of Anna and Courtney for selling drugs to her.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, I'll give you guys 30 more seconds.
I'm ready.
Okay,
We'd like to call back up Officer Sherval.
Officer Shervala, to the stand. This will be testimony number 13, Tim Shervala.
Mr. Shervala, Officer Shervala.
Yes.
You, as a policeman, you have the phone records for citizens, is that correct? And you have the records between the two defendants, Mrs. Golson and Anna. And was there any proof of an exchange going on, maybe?
Well, once we got a search warrant, we were able to go through it, and which is legal, by the way. So I found out that Anna had sold the drugs to Miss Golson, which means that's how she got the whole cyanide.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
That's how she got the cyanide.
Mr. Murphy, that's already been established that she received the cyanide from Ms. Reyes. That's not being.
We're trying to connect the points that she might have acquired it from the pharmacy beforehand.
Okay, continue.
No further questions.
When exactly did you get the phone records?
Pretty soon afterwards, we got the search warrant within like 2 days it was.
Okay, and then when were these conversations going back and forth?
A couple of days before we found Gino dead.
Okay, so it was so she you can see that she had intent to do it, and now as an officer you would that maybe it would better, not instead of just poisoning, cold-blooded murdering your husband, you think that it would be better to onto you?
Objection, Your Honor. Phone records can't decide whether it was premeditated.
Well, that's not what he's intending to show with the phone records. I'll let him present his evidence as they pertain to the phone records, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to attempt to tie the phone records to the premeditation of murder.
Okay,
Continue.
okay, so do you think it would be better for her to go to the police and ask police for help instead of just straight up poisoning her husband?
Yeah, it's always a better route.
Do you think that there could have been benefits to her poisoning her husband that could have helped her out, like end up cashing on life insurance?
It's true.
Okay. So
Now, would you like to cross examine? Okay, you may be seated. Are there any more witnesses you'd like to call to the stand?
Mr. Justin Moyer.
Call Justin Moyer to the stand. This will be testimony number 14.
At the pharmacy, do you ever do inventory checks?
Yeah.
How often are these done? Weekly. And did you, from the inventory check, do you remember if there was anything missing?
Yeah, there are a few things missing. And
Would you say that one of them was the potassium cyanide that Anna could have taken?
yeah, I mean, she was, as I said before, she was doing stocking shelves. She could have easily taken anything she wanted.
So let it be known that Anna was just stocking the shelves, wasn't even her job. She was making mysterious phone calls. There was chemicals missing from the pharmacy, and all of this was like a week before the murder happened. No further questions.
Can I ask you, what does we already know that Anna acquired the poison and gave it to Courtney. What does your testimony have anything to do to prove with the murder?
I'm simply stating that she acquired it at a certain time from my pharmacy, the times of the suspicions and the times of when she acquired the poison. Like how this was mentioned.
I don't believe the times have anything to do with the murder. We already know that Anna got the poison. That is known in the case. He is not proving anything. No further questions.
Are there any other witnesses you'd like to call to the stand?
We would like to call up Mrs. Golston.
Call Courtney Golston to the stand. This will be testimony 15, and this will be the final testimony of the day.
Mrs. Golston, why did you poison Gina?
I thought life was in danger.
Felt like your life was in danger. And were you being physically abused during the time of the poisoning?
Yes.
Yes, so he was hitting you while you poisoned him, is that correct?
He wasn't able to.
He was threatening you. So you were not actually in peril from the law standpoint. Why did you not go to the police about it?
Because he said that if I was anything, he would kill me.
Kill you. And you don't think the police would handle that? No, you don't. And when and where did you acquire the poison?
Well, I actually had it from Anna because I was recommended to start doing gardening to distract myself from my problems at home. And she actually made it for me, gave it to me.
She made it. Okay. And this was for gardening, you say? No further questions.
Just out of curiosity, is there any benefits to plants using potassium cyanide?
Yes.
Benefits?
It helps.
No.
It helps the soil and it makes it more nutrient to make the flowers.
Okay, and you ever have any intent on originally putting it into his drink? Okay, and now you said the time he was abusing you, when you poisoned him. How was he abusing you?
He had a knife to my throat.
This doesn't make any sense. So he was drinking his coffee while holding a knife to your throat.
He wasn't drinking coffee.
Then okay, then wait, what was he drinking that you put the poison in?
He was drinking a cup of water.
Okay. Now, so you're telling me that he was drinking water while holding a knife to your throat, and then when he drank it, he just passed out and fell down dead. Is that usually what happened? Okay. Then how is his body on the floor and his body somehow on the floor peacefully, but yet he was holding a knife to your throat? This doesn't make any sense.
He didn't die at the time that he had the knife to my throat.
So you're saying, but you just said that there was abuse at the time when you poisoned him. You literally just said that at the time he had a knife to your throat. Are you lying?
Not when I poisoned him. That's not what I said. I said there was abuse before it happened.
Okay, I asked at the time, when was there abuse going on? At the time when you poisoned him, was there abuse at the time?
Yes, before I did anything.
At the time, no, at the time you poisoned him, what was going on?
Simple question.
You have to make something up.
At the time the poison went to the water,
What was he doing?
what was going on?
He went to the bathroom, and I decided that I would try to run, but every time I tried to run, he said that he would find me and bring me back. So that's when I thought maybe I should just do something to stop him from coming after me.
Just out of curiosity, why did it take you such a long time to think of that?
Because I don't understand the question.
Now, so you say if you would have ran and went to the cops, do you think he still would have found you and taken you even though you were at the police station?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think would happen to you if you're there at the police station?
He wouldn't have done anything in public.
So would you be able to tell the police what had just gone on, and you wouldn't safe, or do you think, oh, the police wouldn't have carried and you would have just gone back home and got killed or something?
Probably would care. I would think that.
So you think?
Okay, I'm going to stop you after that question. We're going to have to halt this testimony and resume at the beginning of day 3 tomorrow.